Hey, what is going on, guys? My name is ThePromG, and welcome to probably my most controversial manga review that I'll ever make. And just for the record, no, this one does not count. In today's video, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on Inio Asano's A Girl on the Shore. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with the series, I would go as far as say this is probably one of the most, if not the most controversial manga in existence. On one hand, you have people saying that this manga is an absolute masterpiece, it's super deep and full of content. And then on the other hand, you have people saying that owning this should be illegal. But obviously what really matters is what I think about this. So we're gonna get into what I think about this series. I read this today, all in one sitting, to make this video for you guys, and I want to share my opinions on it. I think I have some different opinions than other people in the manga community on this series, so we're gonna go ahead and get into that today. So if you guys do enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more manga videos just like this. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so the basic premise of A Girl on the Shore is that there's this girl and this boy. I believe they're either 14 or 15 years old. I think they're in 8th grade. I believe that they start off as friends or at least acquaintances, and the boy really likes the girl, but the girl doesn't like him back, or at least she says she doesn't. But it's one thing that leads to another, and they end up having kind of this casual sexual relationship with each other. Whoa, Mr. PromG, I did not just hear you say you read a manga about 14-year-olds doing the 69. I mean, how can you even live with yourself, man? Alright, so before you guys get all up in arms in the comments, I've been reading all of Inio Asano's manga because I want to do a video ranking them all, so I couldn't avoid reading this series. I already knew what everyone says about it and what everyone thought about it. At least most people thought about it, being just basically a hentai. But the main reason I wanted to read this series is just to do the ranking and to say I've read it because I wanted to give it a fair shot. People wouldn't be saying it's a masterpiece if there weren't some redeeming qualities, right? And before we go any further into the video, I'm just gonna say right now, I'm not gonna go into the whole politics of, their age and what they're doing, and if that's okay in a manga, or if that shouldn't be allowed in manga format. Is it art? Is this illegal content? I'm not going to get into all that stuff. In this video, I'm just going to be giving a manga review because it is a manga at the end of the day. It's a work of art, whether you like it or not, so I'm just going to be viewing it as such. So now that we got that out of the way, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the story. I'm not going to go too in depth, but I'll give you a brief summary. As the boy and the girl have this relationship, they try new things. Eventually it gets more and more extreme to an absolutely insane degree, and they have some rocky moments in their relationship. They don't really like each other. In fact, at times they say they hate each other. There's lots of other stuff that goes on with other characters. There's another kid in their grade who's the star of the baseball team, and he has had a crush on this girl for so long, but the main boy, I think his name is like Isobe or something like that, obviously he's having relationships, and then those two bump heads and there's like this whole fight between them. There's a decent amount of things that go on in this manga, but it's pretty linear and it's pretty straightforward. Basically, the main thing of interest is the relationship between these two characters. So the first thing I'll do is talk about the story. Now, I thought that the story was decently interesting. I wanted to see what was going to happen between the two characters in the relationship, not like physically, but, emotionally, and how the two were going to develop. Believe me, there are a lot of ups and downs in this casual sexual relationship they have, even to the point of violence in some points. I don't know, I just felt like something was missing from the story that really elevated it to the next level of, being truly enjoyable. Maybe it was something that was lacking in the characters, they weren't extremely likable, especially the girl character. I mean, I found her to be especially unlikable. I really don't know what it is about it. She did some things that I did not agree with. Obviously, I won't spoil anything, but she did some things that I personally wasn't a fan of. And compared to some of Inio Asano's other works, it just didn't even compare at all, really, as far as a compelling story and deep and rich characters. It just didn't really stack up. And some critics of this manga will say that Girl on the Shore isn't even really a manga with a story. It's basically just hentai. And I think that this point of view is kind of unfair because there really is a lot more to this manga than just these sex scenes. And while there are a decent amount of these scenes, it's not like they're happening for absolutely no reason. I mean, it's to push the relationship of these two characters further. And while the things they do together get more and more crazy, not like super over the top, like absolutely batshit insane, I mean, it's not happening for no reason at all. And I will say this manga had some decent emotional moments, in my opinion. There were some times where I was thinking, I'm like, oh, this is somewhat well written, I can understand this emotion to some degree, but then there were equally as many moments where it was just mind-numbingly stupid, in my opinion. And most of these moments I thought were really stupid come from the characters being overly angsty and dramatic. They are teenagers, I guess, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, whatever. but it just seems way too extreme, and it just kind of got to the point where it's like, this is just dumb, what they're thinking and the actions that they're taking. For example, there are moments in the relationship where they're just talking casually and they're like, oh yeah, I hate you, you should die, you should go to hell. But it's like, I didn't really understand a reason for these emotions at all, or why they were saying this. Like, they didn't even really do anything extremely bad to one another that would even warrant this kind of behavior or feedback, so maybe I just didn't understand that. If someone understands, explain in the comments. But personally, I really didn't understand this aspect of the characters' relationships towards each other, how they're always hostile, and how they seem to have kind of this ongoing hatred towards each other when eventually it just kind of ceases to exist, or is never even real in the first place. I just never really got that. And I've talked about the characters a little bit, so I'll kind of go over this pretty quickly. I thought the girl character was pretty unlikable. She did some stuff that I didn't really agree with or I thought was annoying. And also her attitude was just really unlikable. The main guy character, Isobe, I think his name was, he had a somewhat interesting backstory and stuff going on in his life. It was pretty depressing, and I think that that's what Inio Asano really does best, is making these depressing backstories and lifestyles that these characters live, making them interesting. However, I don't feel that his character was necessarily anything really to write home about. Then you have some miscellaneous boy characters who are interested in the girl character they have varying relationships with, and they weren't anything to write home about. Again, less interesting than Isobe, but for what it's worth, I guess they were decent enough characters. They got the job done. And then for the remaining characters, that being every other character in the story, I really could not care less about. I don't even remember their names. I don't even remember the names of main characters, really. So just all these other miscellaneous characters, like the girl character, all her close friends, left no impact on me whatsoever. They played no role in the story whatsoever. And I guess they'll kind of serve as a backdrop to the story. Not really meaningful, but they're just kind of there while this is all happening. And finally, I'm going to talk about the artwork. Now, the artwork in this series is typical Inio Asano artwork. You know, he does the photorealistic stuff where he takes a background and like traces over it or whatever. I forget what it's called, which is, I guess, somewhat controversial in its own right, but you know, I'm fine with it. One thing that I really admire about Inio Asano's artwork is how he's able to portray emotions on characters' faces, and he does a pretty good job of it in this manga. You know, obviously there's lots of emotion and angst in this series. He does a really good job of portraying that. But yeah, other than that, the artwork is fantastic. I really love the realistic environment that he does, obviously with the photorealistic backgrounds with the buildings, and yeah, nothing really to complain about in this front. So overall, what did I think of Inio Asano's A Girl on the Shore? This was a pretty mediocre read in my opinion. A lot of people who have read this series absolutely hate it and are repulsed by it and want nothing to do with it. And while I wouldn't say I'm absolutely to that degree, no, I can tolerate this series. I think that there's a decent amount of substance to it. This is probably not a manga that I'd actually recommend anyone to read. Obviously, if you want to go out and read this series, all the power to you. You might love it, you might hate it, who knows. But you know, if someone asked me, PromG, what's some good manga that you've read recently, they'd recommend me go read, you know, I would never say A Girl on the Shore. While it has some good characteristics, such as some of the story and the artwork, it also had an equal amount of moments, if not more, that were uncomfortable, not well executed, or a little bit hollow in my opinion. And finally, as far as the sex scenes go, some people say they're completely graphic and over the top. I disagree. I don't think that they're too insane that would make it absolutely disgusting. Obviously, if you're uncomfortable with the subject matter of this series, don't read it. It's definitely not for you. And I will say that there are a few scenes that made me pretty uncomfortable while I was reading this series. So my final score for A Girl on the Shore, bars, is going to be a 5 out of 10. Pretty mediocre, nothing I'd really suggest, but it does have a few qualities that I thought were pretty decent. I anticipate that this will probably be my least favorite of Inio Asano's manga in his entire collection, and probably for as long as time continues to exist, but yeah, you know, it's decent, nothing to write home about, and I probably wouldn't recommend anyone read this. Anyways, guys, that is going to wrap up for this manga review. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more manga videos just like this. So yeah, this has been ThePromG. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and as always, hope to catch you in the next one.